Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Cassidy. If it's not, thanks for always tuning into my videos. Today we're doing a sit-down video of just like how to get started on YouTube and my tips and how I've marketed myself and grown on YouTube and just like, I don't know, just like a little bit of a discussion video about growth and marketing and Booktube. We obviously can start off with the very like basic, you hear everywhere tips, which is one, just do it. You're the only thing holding you back. If you are thinking about making a Booktube channel, just do it. I promise you, this is one of the nicest communities I've ever been a part of. I have done my rounds on YouTube. I have a beauty channel, I've done TikTok, I've done fashion, like makeup, fashion, photography. I've done my rounds and this is the nicest community I've ever belonged to, and they are so accepting, so loving, and I've made so many great friends through it, which has never really truly happened in another form for me. And I think that's just because of how accepting this community is of newer booktubers. With just doing it comes the concept of just film yourself, upload it, and you know what? You never post it, you never post it. Just kind of get used to filming yourself, because filming yourself is weird, talking to a camera is weird. The only way to get over it is to just do it. So you just talk, you upload it, you never post it, fine. There's videos on my channel that are privated from a year before I even posted a video. You just kind of have to slowly get used to it, and the more you do it, the more natural talking to a camera is. And one of the biggest tips I can give you is being natural will help you grow, because people seek out authenticity. So be natural, whether that's just how you're talking, keep doing it until you're practiced and you feel comfortable in front of the camera. It takes a while, but it will happen, I promise. And then also be like authentic and natural to your own self. Something I stick by first and foremost on my channel is I make my channel for my own enjoyment. So every single video I post has to be a video that I would watch. There are plenty of videos I could do, but I don't enjoy those types of videos myself. So when I record them, I'm not being authentic, and that comes off on camera. People do know when you don't enjoy something. It's quite clear. Even if you think you're doing the best job hiding it, people can tell. And you're not putting 100% into something you don't like to do. So that's another tip, is just do things that you enjoy. For example, I get a decent amount of love reading books I don't enjoy. So when I read something like Desperate Measures, or when I did my contemporary romance, most people know that I'm torturing myself with those books. I often will torture myself with books for content, but I like doing that. I'm enjoying the process, which is why it comes across so well in a video and why I have so much success with those videos. Some people can't do it. If you do not enjoy the process of the torture, this sounds so wrong, then your audience will tell that, and they won't be able, and they also will not enjoy your video, because they can tell that this is not good. Like they can tell you're not enjoying yourself, you're not having fun, and no one wants to watch someone just like hate their life. So I think the biggest thing you can do is just be authentic to yourself, authentic to things you like to do, and authentic to your own reading tastes. I will say I went to school for a marketing degree. I dropped out, but I did 2 years. I have a successful photography business, and I have grown a TikTok to 50K before. I've also worked with a bunch of fashion brands. I've been on the Dynamite website and Instagram before for fashion stuff. I've worked with Bumble. So I think that I have a pretty good grasp on marketing, and I really, really enjoy it. And so one of the things I always think about is, how will my content be different than anything else? And so with that comes the idea that like I need to stand out somehow, and not with every video, because my personality itself, I am my own brand. I am marketing myself like a brand. Your personality yourself is what makes you you, and you will stand out just for your own personality. But in some aspects, for some things, there needs to be a reason for people to watch it. Things like Booktube Bestie. You see taste tests going around all the time. People are reading their friends' favorite books, doing all that. So when I wanted to do that, because I love watching those types of videos, videos, I was like, what can be different about it? And so I came up with the idea of doing 2 best and 2 worst because it's of their 2021 favorites, because I felt like I hadn't seen someone do that exact thing. Or with Realmathon, I knew I wanted to do a readathon, but I was like, there's so many readathons out there. How can this be different? How can this be unique? What's gonna make someone want to join my readathon over someone else's readathon? So I thought of an idea and thought how it could be different, which was the negative and positive points for your realm. You could attack someone's realm, which I had never seen done before. If you take other readathons, like Whatever-a-thon by Maddie at Book Browsing Blog, Maddie's readathon stands out for itself because it's literally about reading whatever you want, and most readathons are niche, and so lots of people want to join Maddie's readathon because they're like, wow, I can read anything. So Maddie marketed herself and figured out how this would stand out in a crowd of readathons. There's something like Polarthon by Jade, J.D. Ray Reads. Jade is a very niche subgenre that she likes, and so people who also want to read that subgenre will read it. Or fandom ones, you see Marvel ones, you see a bunch of things where you're standing out because of the fandom you're in. Which kind of leads me to my next point, which is kind of when you're marketing yourself and you're talking about your videos and you're kind of trying to come up with creation, you have to think about who your audience is and who your audience won't be. So when you're thinking about who your audience is, YouTube does a really good job of giving your demographics. So for me, I know that my whole channel is mostly women between the ages of 20 to 40. There are some men, there are some older women, there are some younger women, but that is like the majority of my marketing. Like that's the majority of my audience right there. And so that can give you an idea of your just like age demographic, because you can kind of figure out where, like, I don't have a lot of under 20-year-olds, so the fact that I've stopped reading YA as much doesn't actually affect my channel that much. Not that it should anyways, and I would not read YA even if there was underage, because that's not authentic to me, but those are things you can think about. And then if you're thinking just about your audience and who your audience isn't, if you're doing something like a themed readathon based on a fandom, your audience is obviously like, let's take a Winnie the Pooh themed readathon. Your audience will be people who love Winnie the Pooh, and your audience that won't be there is people who don't like Winnie the Pooh. I mean, there will be some outliers who will join even though Winnie the Pooh's not for them, but for the most part, if you're doing a Winnie the Pooh themed readathon, you're leaving behind people who don't like Winnie the Pooh, which is okay. That happens. It's just something to be aware of when you're trying to market yourself, because you will know then that, like, you don't need to push so hard to get people who aren't Winnie the Pooh fans. Or you can then look at the Winnie the Pooh readathon and make sure there's prompts that might work for people who don't love it. I know for me, like the Magical Hopathon, the Disney one, such a cool idea, but it doesn't catch my attention because I'm not a Disney fan. Whereas Magical Readathon, which is like a Dungeons and Dragons themed readathon, catches my attention because I like that idea of building a story. But there will people vice versa. And you can simplify this to even your own videos. So when I look at a video that I'm creating, I know in my Patreon content chatting live show, like planning our content for the month, they discussed a video for sequels. So I had a couple sequels on my TBR this month. They're like, well, why don't you do a vlog for it? And I was like, that's a great idea. But I do have to keep in mind, if I'm reading those sequels, a lot of people who haven't read the first book in that series, or the second book, the books prior to that sequel, won't watch that video. I know personally that I don't care as much for vlogs where, like, for sequel vlogs, if I haven't read it. So, like, let's take, like, Malice, for example. I would love watching a first vlog of Malice, but if I haven't read Malice, I have no interest in watching Valor, because often times there's spoilers for the first one, or I'm just not as interested because I need to know your thoughts on the first one before I can read it, if that makes sense. I'm not sure how clear I'm being. I have nothing written out. We are literally just discussing and I'm rambling today because these are all the thoughts that go through my head when I'm creating something. Because some people might not watch it doesn't mean you don't have to do the video. As I said, I'm a very selfish person and I create all my own videos for my own enjoyment. I do everything for my own enjoyment. Something like my book club, I pick books that I want to read, and I don't really care as much about people who won't be able to get their hands on it or who don't want to read those books, because first and foremost, it's for my own enjoyment. So if I decide to make a sequels vlog, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to be aware of the audience I might be losing. But you also might be gaining audience who have read the first book and want to know your thoughts on the second before they read it. Production quality, although for YouTube, I don't think entirely matters. I have a very expensive camera because I own a photography business, so I have this camera already. But so my camera will let me do like high quality videos, but I honestly only upload to 1080 HD on YouTube, which is also still not necessary, but I don't feel like I need a 4K video for you to hear me talk about books. So why waste the extra rendering time for the 4K? Personally, I know a lot of creators who have a phone and natural light and a microphone, and it's beautiful. I honestly think the number one thing you need is a microphone, because your sound quality on like your phone or something is not as good, but phone, like if you have the newest iPhone, your video quality is incredible. And it's not like I'm throwing a bunch of effects on my video, so I don't actually need to use this expensive of a camera. I just have it. But I watch a lot of creators who I know film on their phones or their vlogging cameras, and I absolutely adore it. I film with a ring light. That's all I have in my room, but because my entire room is white and I'm kind of in a box, they are reflecting. So as a photographer, these are things I know. If you are struggling with like lighting in your video, if you get a ring light and then like a white piece of paper like this, if you put this underneath you, I don't know if you can see the difference right there. It's very slight with because I already have my brightness up. If I just put this piece of paper underneath me, that light is now bouncing onto this piece of paper and reflecting onto me. It'll get rid of any like double chin lines. It just like helps really reflect that light. Lots of people also put them on the sides to also do the same thing. You could box yourself in and get perfect lighting. I don't, because I literally am in a room of white and I don't need it. But if you are struggling with some of your lighting, just getting white will act as a reflector and the light will bounce off of it and hit you. So being underneath me, it's bouncing about here and then hitting me under the chin. I'm not a person who looks at quality, determines I'm going to watch them or not. My main leading reason to watch someone's booktube is personality and book taste. And personality first and foremost. So there are people who I follow that I do not have similar book taste. Not a lot, but there are a couple. Chandler Ainsley, I love the way she talks and her thought process and all of that. She is a romance reader. I don't read that much romance. Actually, I didn't start reading romance at all until about 4 months ago. And I've been following her for a good year and a half. And so I think your personality really matters and what you're bringing to the table in terms of personality. So don't be afraid to let your personality shine in your videos. You have all seen me balance a book on my head, because that's something I do. I put things on top of my head all the time. The first time I did it in a video, I was like, oh God, what am I doing? Why did I just do that? And I really thought about cutting it out, but I'm glad I didn't, because so many people enjoy it and the osmosis that I say I'm getting through a book. You know, I either loved or hated a book if it goes on top of my head now. And it's just like a little bit of me. You also see me like, ugh, all the time in videos and weird facial effects and all of that. And that's just letting my personality shine. I'm a weirdo. I call things what they shouldn't. You hear me say eggplant all the time. And I'm just, that helps build an audience because you are getting to know me. Another really typical thing you're gonna hear is you need to look at your reasons why. So why am I doing this? Why am I creating content? Is it to make money? Is it just to talk about books? Is it because I like the community aspect? You can have all three of those things, but learning your first and foremost reason will help you decide how to do your content or how much you have to put into your content. For someone who's trying to make money off of YouTube, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of consistency. And so you have to know going into it that I need to be recording videos, I need to be putting my money behind things. Then if you're marketing yourself for the community aspect, there's probably going to be more things like sprints. You don't need to do as many sit-down videos. You just have to figure out, knowing these things will help you figure out where to put your time in and your money, because if you're going to do it for like, if you're trying to make money, you have to put money into something. Whether that's buying books, your equipment, your time, because time is money, or like community aspect, For me, I launched with my friends the Late Night Crew Discord. I had done my Patreon to grow more of a community. I spent a lot more time in other people's Patreons to help build a sense of community because that's what I was looking for when I joined Booktube. And or if you're just there to do it and talk about books, there are plenty of people who just talk about books and they post once a month and that's all they're there for. I follow some of these channels. I love some of these channels' content. They are not sitting here spending every Wednesday night filming 5 videos so they have videos to go. It's just, you have to figure out where you lie on the spectrum to decide where you are. I know I fit somewhere in between all 3 of those. I started my channel just to talk about books. I also wanted a community aspect because it's something I really, really loved, but I also would like to make a smaller income out of this. Not a full-time job, but I would like to supplement my photography business with YouTube money. So I put in a little bit of extra work because of that, and I knew I had to be very consistent. I had to be posting videos often. The YouTube algorithm will favor me, and there you go. There is a struggle with the YouTube algorithm because you have to be consistent, but not too consistent. This is something. Posting every single day sounds like a great idea because you're like, oh, consistency. It's not always. There is a fine level that you need to find. Also because you need to be consistently putting out good content, not fluff content. I see some people post 7 days a week and I only watch one of their videos because that is the only video that I think was worth my time. And then if I've only watched one video, let's say 50 of your 100 followers only watch one video, YouTube is now not going to favor you even though you put out 7 videos because 6 of your videos didn't do as good. Algorithms suck. Clickbait. The saddest thing in the entire world is that clickbait works, and clickbait is a thing for a reason. And clickbait doesn't necessarily need to be so fake. I know some people are like, oh, like, you can see some pretty bad clickbait. If you remember the Brandon Sanderson Kickstarter thumbnail, bad clickbait. Like, that was clickbait to an extreme. Things for me that I've done for clickbait, Booktube bestie. If I'm being honest here, my thumbnails are clickbait. I always put the Booktube bestie that I'm doing because most of the time they have been bigger than me. So when I did Jade, Jade's face was in there. And I am bringing in people who see that thumbnail and see Jade and love Jade will watch my video. It is a smaller version of clickbait and kind of learning the YouTube algorithm. One of the number one things I do when I'm planning out content is going to other people's pages. Whether normally it's a content creator that I love, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's just a bigger creator, sometimes it's a creator from a different spectrum of YouTube, and I go and I look at their top videos, the videos that did the absolute best, and I figure out if there's any of those that I could twist and make my own somehow. If you look at Booktube, truthfully, hauls, unhauls, and TBRs do amazing. Amazing. So you know if you do those, they'll probably do pretty good. TBR games are engaging, so they do good. I love watching TBR games, even if I don't necessarily like the creators' book taste and have similar book taste, because I'm in there. I'm like, are you gonna hit a double and have to roll again? Creativity is really a big way to stand out, just looking at how your videos can be more unique. And then also if you go look at people outside of Booktube and you look at things that are trending outside of Booktube, you can bring those into Booktube. I know tier ranking was a big thing outside of Booktube before it hit Booktube and someone took it in. There's all those little things that happen. I would say your number one way to grow on Booktube is just to be yourself and make friends. You have to authentically be making friends though. Whether that's watching people's videos and commenting, I spent a lot of time before I posted even my first video hanging out in comments and watching videos and learning. And I still do that. I watch a lot of Booktube, and I know for myself, I personally think it matters if people watch Booktube. I know creators who post bookish content and they don't watch anyone. For me, I feel like if you are a lover of Booktube content, you can see the authenticity in your videos. So if you watch Booktube content, I know that you love it, you know? Does that make sense? I spend a lot of time on Booktube because I thoroughly love Booktube content. And I feel like that expresses into my videos, and you can tell I love what I do and I love making these videos. But I also just love making friends. I love seeing what other creators are doing. So I spend a lot of time watching videos and commenting on videos. I used to not be a good commenter. I'm trying to be so much better. I watch creators bigger than me, smaller than me, same as me. I comment on all of them. It doesn't matter who. I'm here and authentically commenting, not just, hi, I watched your video. if you actually engaged in their video, those authentic comments. I also know as a creator, comments matter, and I love comments and I look at comments and they make my day all the time. So I put comments out there and I've made a lot of friends that way. Me and Bex always commented on each other's videos and just reaching out to people and authentically saying hi and knowing the right time and right place. Thumbnails matter. If you've ever watched Kayla's video, Books and Lala, where she did a year of different thumbnails, you can actually see how much thumbnails matter in that video. Having clean thumbnails, having thumbnails that match your Booktube aesthetic, all of that really matters and will help draw in your target audience. You should also know your target audience. I don't know if I talked about this. I talked about knowing your audience, but you should also know your target audience. So for me, I know my target audience is fantasy readers. It's more broad. I really should niche it down than that, but truthfully, my target audience is people who read fantasy and read higher epic fantasy, darker fantasy, not soft fantasy. I also know that they tend to be women because I also tend to lean towards reading a little bit of dark romance and fantasy romance and thrillers, but that doesn't mean that I don't also want men watching my channel. That just means that this is the audience that I am marketing myself towards, is women fantasy readers, probably the age 20 to 30, because that's my age and that's what I relate to. And then that will help you make content. I know that if I post a horror video, I still post them. Horror, romance, thriller, TBRs, or anything like that, they will do less. They won't do as well as my fantasy ones do, but I made it that way for a purpose. That means that I have my target audience. The fact that my fantasy YouTube videos do so much better than horror YouTube videos means I've reached my target audience, because they don't care as much about horror. I obviously would like to lean a little bit towards people who do enjoy my other content, but fantasy is where I live and breathe, and so that's the majority of my audience. I want to also live and breathe fantasy when I'm marketing towards them. I think that's all I have to say. I could probably sit down and make a whole nother video on this if I actually thought about things. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different than anything I've done before. A lot more chatty, a lot less planned, a lot more just rambling. If you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me a camera emoji. If you'd like to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon are all linked down in the description bar below. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful day.